Alright, fine, hate is a pretty strong word, I get it. I don't hate the OnePlus 9 Pro, but I do hate this OnePlus bucket hat. Like, it came with a pre-order and wow, this thing is horrible. It doesn't even fit my head properly. Anyway, I'm Gary, this is FoxTech, and I've been using the OnePlus 9 Pro for over a month now, and in this video I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I don't like. My 5 biggest problems with the OnePlus 9 Pro. Let's go! If you've not already seen my video on the 7 reasons why I love the OnePlus 9 Pro, then go and check that video out after you've watched this one, and subscribe while you're at it. Battery life has been a mixed bag. It started off disappointing. I was getting around 5 hours of screen on time. Then, after using the phone for a week or so, I started to get over 6 hours, sometimes 6.5 hours of screen on time, which for me, I'm pretty happy with. But then more updates came along, and most days I'm just getting over 5 hours of screen on time, with the odd day reaching 6.5 hours, which is nice when it happens, but it's just so random. It doesn't quite make sense. Of course it depends on the apps you use and how you use the phone day to day, but my main issues with the battery life is its inconsistency. For my usage, over 5 hours is usable, but it's just disappointing. Over 6 hours I'm fine with really. With the Pixel 5 and the iPhone 12 mini, I was regularly getting over 6.5 hours of screen on time, sometimes over 7 hours, even on the 12 mini. I know the processors are very different, but just in terms of battery life throughout the day, I would say the 9 Pro is a little underwhelming. There is rapid charging though, which is a bonus to have, but in terms of just pure endurance, the OnePlus 9 Pro isn't leading the pack. Now, I always say that a smartphone is more than just a camera, which I still find to be true. Cameras are very subjective, and I feel like most differences are so small they're only recognised when they compare them side by side with other smartphones. But remember, comparisons can be the thief of joy. However, that being said, after all the hype with the OnePlus Hassleblad partnership, it is slightly underwhelming compared to what we were all expecting. Blacks can get a bit crushed, and there's a slight delay when pressing the shutter button, which means there can be motion blur at times. Now, I don't have any children and I don't have any pets, so what may be priorities for some people might not be for me. For example, I don't take loads of pictures of moving subjects, so it's not a big deal breaker for me, but it totally could be for someone else. The front-facing camera though, well, that's pretty bad, like one of the worst in this price range. I believe it's the same as the one in the OnePlus 7 Pro. Again though, I don't take many selfies, and so it's not a deal breaker for me, but it could be for someone else. When I was using the Pixel, I did love the fact that I knew I could just take a quick picture of something and it turned out to be awesome. That camera was so reliable. With the OnePlus 9 Pro, I don't quite have the same confidence, and I think that's quite important when it comes to the camera. Having the confidence you'll get a great shot the majority of the time. I would like to say that there's been 4 software updates in the last 4 weeks, which is improved on many areas as well as the camera. So it's definitely better than it was at launch, but it's not leading the pack ahead of the Pixel, iPhone and Samsung. The updates have meant I am happy using this camera though, and although it's one of the weaker areas of the phone, it's fine for my use cases. Video has seemed quite solid though, both in stabilization and quality. No, I won't be shooting 8K video because unless you're cropping in like 500%, it's basically pointless. As I originally said though, smartphones are more than just the camera. In my opinion, they're about the software, the user experience, and how it works as a complete package for the individual. If you need the best and the most reliable camera in a smartphone, look elsewhere. Let's talk about the pricing and the region availability. In the UK, I feel like we're getting kind of lucky with the pricing of the 9 Pro. It's £829 here for the 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage model, with the 12GB and 256GB model coming at £929. In comparison, the iPhone 12 128GB version is £849, the iPhone 12 Pro base version is £999, and the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is £1,077 on Amazon UK. These are still more expensive than the OnePlus 9 Pro in the UK. In the US, the OnePlus 9 Pro is $1,069, and there only seems to be the 256GB of storage available. The iPhone 12 Pro can be picked up for $999, and the 12 Pro Max for $1,099. The Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is $1,057 with the same RAM and storage. So the price and value discussion is an interesting one because In the UK, it's still cheaper than all the phones it's trying to compete with, even if it lacks in some areas. Whereas in the US, it's more expensive than the most recent phones from the likes of Samsung and Apple. Look, I'm not complaining at all. Being from the UK, it's actually not a bad deal for us, but the price discrepancy in other regions is very weird, and it creates the argument for it being too expensive or offering less value than other phones. So I don't like the huge region differences. I also don't like how they only offer certain configurations in certain regions. If you want the 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage in the UK, you have to go for the pine green. This black and the mist colour is only available with 8GB and 128GB. In the US, you can't even buy this black variant, which is the best colour in my opinion. I don't like how they do this. If Apple had these region differences in models and colours, it would be really weird too, and people would be calling them out for it. I feel like the fingerprint scanner is a little too low on the 9 Pro. It's an optical scanner, which clearly works really fast and really well to be honest, but it's a bit too far down on the display that you've got to stretch for a little bit, and it can be tricky at times. It's not the end of the world, and yeah, you get used to it, but compared to the placement on the S21 Ultra, which looks like it's much more comfortable, positioned slightly higher up on the display, the 9 Pro drops it a little bit too low in my opinion. Maybe they had to drop it down lower to fix in other components in its place, but I just wish it was higher up for ease of use, and maybe next year they'll pop it back up. Now, curved displays aren't my favourite. I've always preferred flat displays because of the glare at the edges and the accidental touches. It can be a bit annoying at times. The display isn't as curved as the 8 Pro from last year, but it's still there. I also feel like they've tried to implement palm rejection this year and overcooked it a little bit. When typing, the edges of the display seem less sensitive than the centre of the display, so it feels like it's not as responsive sometimes, which is really weird. If this was a flat display, I don't think there'd be any complaints about touch response at the edge of the display. But it's like we're trying to make things look futuristic and sleek, so we curve the display. But then it creates problems with accidental touches and palm rejection. So now we need to fix that, but it just feels unresponsive typing. The most recent software update did aim to address this, and I think it's a little better now when typing using the edge letters of the keyboard, but it's still there sometimes. The easiest way to explain it is that it feels slower and less responsive to react to certain key presses. All these problems come from the fact that companies now want to curve the edges of the display because it looks so cool, and I can't deny it, it does look good. But it's not for me personally. I guess we just have to deal with it for now. I'd like flat displays on all phones again ASAP. Function over form please. Now onto a notable mention in this video of things that I don't like. Heat. I've not seen the overheating issues that others have seen with the overheating message that comes on the screen. Granted, I've not been in direct sunlight filming 8K video constantly and totally pushing the camera to its limits. I've just been using the phone, including the camera, as much as I usually do, but I felt the phone get a little warm at times from just normal day-to-day use, which I didn't really notice when using the Pixel 5 and the iPhone 12 mini. I've heard many people mention about heat issues with the Snapdragon 888 being used in phones, and so maybe it's the processor that's the issue. Again, it's no way a deal breaker for me, but it's just something I wanted to mention. But no, I've not once seen the overheating message that many users have been having problems with. And there we have it, my 5 biggest issues with the OnePlus 9 Pro. Let me know if you pick one up and whether you agree or disagree with the problems that I'm having. It's an awesome phone overall, and I really enjoy using it. So don't forget to go check out my other video on the 7 reasons why I love the 9 Pro. Thanks for watching, this was FoxTech, and I'll catch you in the next one.